Now, of course, this can be done in numerous ways. Everything I'm going to show you here in Photoshop and Adobe Camera Raw can also be done in Lightroom, just done a little bit differently. What we're going to do first is turn the background into a layer, and I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, and then on our transform we're going to use let's use skew. I'm going to pull out some straight lines where you can see that you're converging vertical lines are turning in. So all we're going to do is grab our little corners and adjust our vertical lines. You can see that you're losing some of the image, so if you need to do this in post, you need to keep that in mind when you're shooting so that you have a little bit of image to lose when you're straightening your verticals. We'll just double click on it and set that. Gonna go to view, gonna clear the grid, clear the guidelines just to get them out of the way. Normally what I do at this point is I'm gonna duplicate the layer, and then I'm going to take this layer and turn it into a smart filter. That way you can go back and change your filter adjustments at a later date if you need to. Now I'm going to go to Camera Raw. Adjust my window here a little bit so you can see it better. And what we're going to do is play around with the exposure. It's a little bit light. We're going to increase the contrast, which will add a little bit of snap to stuff. Open the shadows a little, which will open the shadows under the Eve sum. Then I'm going to increase the midtone contrast with the clarity slider. That doesn't look too bad to me. Then what we're going to do is a couple of gradients. I'm going to come down and get the sky. Get rid of that. Do a little bit of clarity. And I think what I'm going to do is add a little bit of color to this too. It'll blue up the skies a bit. You can play around with that. Also play around with where you want it, where you want the end of the gradient to be. Then I'm going to pick a new gradient. I'm going to get rid of my color. And then come up from the bottom. Take a little bit of that density out, but that just lowers the intensity of the concrete along the bottom of the image. Now we're going to do some adjustment brush. First off, I'm going to brush right up in here where the gradient is influencing the house, and also in here some. And then I'm going to lower that exposure. Add a little bit of warm tone to it. Then I'm going to grab a new brush. And add some warm tones to the house. Really don't want to lighten it, we're just trying to warm it up. And this actually may be a little bit warm, a little bit too warm. So we'll tone that down a little bit. We can also grab another brush, another adjustment brush, add a little blue temperature back into it, and brush in here where the clouds are a little bit over. That way we can control that exposure a little bit. And we're going to say that that's good enough. You can actually add another adjustment brush if you want. I'm going to adjust my exposure a little bit. Just to open up the shadows a little bit more. Nothing too drastic. I think on the first version I also used an adjustment brush to darken the chairs down just a little. Just so they're not quite popping as much as they do otherwise. And of course this is quick and dirty. You can spend as much time as you want to do this. If you're doing real estate images, quick and dirty is the way you want to go. So we'll call that good enough. Click OK. And then what I'm going to do is go up to Filter, Sharpen, Unsharp Mask. I'm going to add a little bit of sharpening to it. So you can see that the stones and bricks and stuff start popping a little bit. And I think we're going to say that's good enough. And then kind of a before and after of the image I took offline from your Facebook post to what we just did. I hope that helps you out. If you have any questions, you can contact me and I'll try to help you a little bit further.